Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Slow Blink Anime channel. Today we are talking about all the differences from Attack on Titan Season 4 Episode 11 called Deceiver and the manga. This episode covers chapters 107, 108, and 109, and there's a good amount of differences in this one, guys, so let's get started. The episode kicks off with another kill for Gabby. You can see in the manga that Falco isn't really concerned as he checks over his shoulder to make sure the guard is coming. Also, the anime censors the blood during the first hit on the guard, and it also censors the actual beating that Gabby gives him. You can also see in the panels Gabby bashing his head in with the brick. Next, after Falco stops Gabby, we see the brick fall out from the blanket, but in the manga we see the brick and also the hole in the wall from which Gabby got it from. Then the anime cuts out the panel of Gabby and Falco hiding the body underneath the bed before making their escape. Lastly, as Reiner wakes up, he is greeted by Galliard and Piek. We only see one bottle that Galliard is drinking, but in the manga we see two other empty bottles that he has already gone through. It starts with Kaya finding Gabby and Falco by the river as they argue. The anime was very accurate, but it left out Falco snatching the stone out of Gabby's hands as they are invited to Kaya's house. Next, when arriving at the farm, there is a bit of dialogue that is cut. Gabby confirms that she did kill the guard and she's worried that when they find him, they'll search the nearby areas. Falco replies that if they move recklessly, they could be found anyway, and maybe they could ask to stay here for a few days. Moving on, they get introduced to the Blouse family. After Mr. Blouse says that they are welcome to stay, the anime cuts off Falco's appreciation and Gabby looking shocked at what's happening. While eating, Miss Blouse pats Gabby on the head and she swats her hand away. In the anime, as Falco tries to calm down the situation, he tells Gabby to eat. In the manga, she eats on her own without being told. I guess she was at least able to read the situation on that part. Moving on, later in the episode, Gabby and Falco are working in the stables and talking about their next move. While Gabby was complaining about Zeke being a traitor, Falco has some internal monologue about him saying he hasn't told Gabby yet that he was the one carrying Aaron's letters. And that line wasn't included in the anime. Next, Kaya tells him that it's time for lunch and she reveals that she knows that they're Marleyans. After the whole situation of Gabby trying to kill her calms down, the anime ends the scene with Falco asking Kaya why. Then the scene just cuts away. In the manga, Kaya responds by saying that if she wanted to turn them in, they would have been captured a long time ago. Moving on to the discussion about Kaya's mom, Gabby is trying to explain about Eldian's sins and she adds more in the manga about the world never forgiving their sins. Next, when Kaya is screaming at Gabby about why her mom had to be killed, Falco apologizes in both the anime and the manga. But in the manga, he adds at the end of the sentence that her mom didn't deserve it. Lastly, as the scene ends, there is a line left out from Kaya recalling Sasha's last words to her. Run along this road until you find someone that can help you. Just some dialogue is cut from this quick scene in the anime. After receiving praise for their bravery, Exactly says that it wouldn't have been possible without Hizuru's help and trust. He then thanks Mrs. Sumabito for continuing to meet them despite the situation the island is currently in. Then he apologizes that the welcome party is not worthy of her, but she says that the head of the state is more than deserving enough. Mrs. Umabito then comments that the volunteers aren't the ones that answered her wireless call, so she understands what situation he is talking about. Hanji is bombarded with questions as she tries to go through the gates. One question that wasn't in the anime is one person asking Hanji about the accusation that the military is gaining too much wealth from the outside world. Next, the guy that steps in front of Hanji has a line cut of him asking about how 4 years ago the scouts showed them the truth that the Titans are the people of Paradis and the real enemies are in the foreign land. He then emphasizes that this is why the relationship between Eren and the scouts mattered to the civilians. Flock is being questioned by Hanji and there's a line left out after he says that Eren saved the lives of every citizen in the new Eldian Empire. Hanji corrects him and calls it the nation of Eldia, and that the victory he talked about gives a reason to other nations to join forces and attack our tiny little island. Then they argue if that attack is more dangerous than not using the rumbling to help ensure their safety on the island. And that's all for this scene. While locking up Luis, Mikasa talks to her and she hears about how Luis looks up to her. When telling Mikasa about the day she saved her, there is a line cut out of Luis asking if she was saved too by Mr. Eren Yeager. Mikasa then thinks about Eren wrapping the scarf around her when they were kids, and then she touches the scarf. This makes more sense as to why she touches her scarf in the anime version, because there wasn't any real dialogue to back it up. Lastly, during the flashback, we don't get to see Eren's face as he's rescuing Mikasa and killing the man, but in the manga we see the full panel and the look in his eyes as he does so. The anime cuts out some greetings between the two before the serious conversation starts. Pixis asks how the room is, and Yelena jokes that it'd be nice if there weren't those iron bars blocking her view. Pixis then responds and says they are indebted to the volunteers for all their work, and he values the meticulous records that Yelena took of all her actions. This makes him ask her why it was so important for her to seem so clean. She then went as far as to put herself under strict watch by soldiers, and this is what leads to the start of the conversation in the anime. While explaining why he thinks that Zeke had betrayed Marley, there's a line left out of him talking about Piek's theory that Zeke started gathering allies in Marley about 4 years ago. Next, some information is cut. Magath talks about how reporters and other people of interest were at the attack on Marley, and news will spread of the dangers of Paradis. He also mentions that Willy Tieber appealed to everyone on that day. Then there are some added lines to the anime of Galliard saying that it would be a huge blow to lose Gabby and Falco, and Piek adding that it would take a long time to train new candidates. Lastly, before Reiner delivers his final line of the episode, Magath has to confirm with Reiner if he really thinks Zeke is planning something and that action should be taken immediately. And that's all the changes I could find for this episode, guys. Let me know if there's anything you noticed that I missed. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe for more anime content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.